In today's fast-paced world, employers face a common challenge: employee stress and burnout. Keeping your team motivated and productive when their stress levels are high is a constant struggle. But there's a solution. Introducing Awaken Pittsburgh's Mindful Connections for Workplace Wellness series. Our program helps reduce stress and burnout, fostering healthier, happier workplaces. Transform your workplace culture and unleash your team's full potential with Awaken Pittsburgh. Reach out today for more information.
Hello friends, my name is Stephanie Romero and I am the founder and executive director of Awaken Pittsburgh. I want to welcome you to our podcast, The Ripple Effect. Awaken Pittsburgh is a nonprofit dedicated to fostering well-being, empathy, and compassion for all by teaching and encouraging mindfulness and meditation practices. I also want to take a moment to let you know that Awaken Pittsburgh offers many other opportunities for practice and connection. For example, you can join our online community, which features a space to more deeply explore the topics we cover with our guests. We have weekly posts to spark thought, practice, and reflection. I hope you will come join us to explore, connect with others, and deepen your practice. You can find out more at awakenpittsburgh.org. Kath, I appreciate that you are here with me, and I have appreciated over, I don't remember how many years that we've been in kind of relationship. I think since
quite a while.
Yeah, since maybe Krista Turksma came to Pittsburgh and did the care training, maybe?
Maybe even before that.
Maybe even before that. Yeah, I don't remember, but I'm excited to deepen our relationship through this conversation. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, Steph, thank you for having me. It's so great to be with you again.
So I always love to start just asking people about their journey. And you have been an educator, your career in public schools. And so I'd love to hear about that and just how did you land on your career?
Oh, I landed on my career. When I was a kid, I decided I was going to be a teacher, and I actually followed through with it. And I was with some students at Pioneer Education Center back when I was in about the fourth grade. And it was that exposure right there that I knew I wanted to be a special ed teacher in particular. Yeah, to help people um, who might benefit from being on a more um, equal playing field, you know? Yeah, and to do what we can to accommodate. Yeah, not only for special ed, but for general ed too, for all of us. We just accommodate each other. And that's what it's kind of grown into from that early onset. Well, how are we going to make this happen? And then we make things happen.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Pioneer Ed Center, was that in Brookline?
yeah.
Yeah,
It
okay.
still
I know.
is
Yeah,
too.
that's right. I was like, okay, cool. Well,
Yeah, and
that's
then I was
awesome.
hired by the Pittsburgh Public Schools, and that was my first assignment
Your
actually as an
same school.
adult in the
Oh,
city.
that's
Yeah,
amazing. I love
yeah,
that. That's a
yeah. So
full
it was
circle
quite
moment.
yeah, it sure is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then the other thing that's been amazing about your career has been how you've been able to integrate mindfulness and meditation into your work. And so I want to know you personally, how were you first introduced to, or how did you find meditation and mindfulness in your personal life? And what has that journey been? And then we'll shift to how you brought it to schools.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I was in a gym class and we did what we know today. We did a body scan and I didn't know what it was, but I went to an all Catholic high school and it was just incredible. And it sent me to a place. And that was my first, uh, I think, true experience with awareness in that form. And it was so powerful to me. Um, and I haven't stopped. And that was when I was like 15 or 16. And that was my response to the feeling I had. And then I just continued doing it. And the feeling it was never the same after that. And sometimes it was more powerful. Sometimes it was maybe unrecognizable. Um, but I got involved with it, and then over the years, I got into the studies and deepened the practice and understanding.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about like what does your personal practice journey, like how has that evolved? What has that looked like? Because I think sometimes people believe, that meditation or mindfulness has one specific way of doing it. And I know as a practitioner myself, like it's evolved for me over the years. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about that journey for you.
Yes, I got into some readings like readings by Jon Kabat Zinn, and then practices online too. They became available over time, but early on, um, I did not start going on retreats per se until I was an adult. But I'm still trying to think early on. I went to it was a retreat out in California with the Greater Good Science Center and UCal Berkeley. And at that retreat, there were two people in particular who really jumped out at me. And it was Megan and Chris. Are their names, and they worked for Mindful Schools. So Mindful Schools is where I got my training, and it was a year-long process, bookended by retreats. So, that was a powerful experience in setting up and networking and meeting other people and sharing our thoughts and ideas and our practices with one another. And then it grew from there. And I had taken more courses um, with Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach. I've done a lot of work with them through their Mindful Meditation Teacher Cert program and their mentorship program. Um, and there was another program they had on awakening, and it's really, really wonderful. And that was a prerequisite for the other courses with them. Yeah.
So how I had this moment, so I was meditating for some time and difficulties in my life led me to meditation. And then I had this moment where I was like, what? People are doing this in schools? And I was a teacher. So I guess I just want to ask, like, so you discovered practice in some way, shape, or form as a younger person and continued to follow that path. At what point did you kind of have this aha moment, or maybe you always knew and not like me, where I was like, what? But like, how did you realize, oh, this is something I could bring to my students?
Well, actually, it was myself. I had to bring it to myself before I even thought of bringing it before it even dawned on me to bring it to students. But I know that there were some struggles along the way, that's for sure, in personal life and in career. And through those struggles, when I would take time to do that practice of the body scan and then get into some breath work and so forth, that was for me to apply. And I did not have to like make a major announcement like, I'm doing this. I would just sit down and take that time to do it for myself. And then I myself was I was experiencing a change um in my reactivity. Yeah. So over time, I learned more about the Mindful Schools curriculum, and I started to do it in my classes with my administrator's knowledge. I let my administrator know first because this stuff can be controversial. And and I had the support. And I would do it with the kids, and I took a chime into the classroom. Um, and um, and then the kids would do it before class, and we would also apply something called the three signature practices from CASEL, where you start with a welcome, and then you get into what you're doing, and you take breaks along the way, and then you have an optimistic closure at the end. And those 3 points were really helpful in the structure of the classes as well. And that's an application of incorporating being aware and presence, which is really, really magical in a classroom. And the kids actually loved the sessions most of the time in my classes. Um, and they would often want to lead the session as well. And then I would join the students and participate from the other side. So I really think that it's critical, and I thought back then, and I still believe it, that it's up to us adults to do this.
Yeah, 100%. Just for people listening that may not know what CASEL is, maybe you could just say a word about that.
CASEL is an organization that supports social and emotional awareness, and it's an acronym for the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. Yeah.
Thanks.
.org.
Yeah.
And their three signature practices is a resource available for
Like
free.
they probably have hundreds of other resources too for anyone that wants to explore it. Like they have a ton of stuff on their website. They're an amazing organization. Yeah.
Don't be overwhelmed. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah, but
rabbit
just
hole.
spend a little time playing on that website if you're a teacher and you haven't checked it out. Or a parent. I feel like even parents might be able to get some good information on their website too.
Absolutely, absolutely, because yeah,
Yeah.
this can be done at home, this can be done at school, it can be
Yeah.
done on the bus, it can be done
Yeah. Yeah.
intentionally anywhere.
Absolutely. I guess the other thing that you named that I really want to just talk about a tiny bit because it's real is you said this can be controversial, right? And I have had some experiences where people have complained in different schools that I've been in. Parents haven't wanted their children to participate in anything related to meditation or mindfulness. So I guess, just for people to understand, like if you're a teacher and you're listening to this conversation, it's important to really understand the other point of view, right? And hear folks' concerns and maybe have some tools to respond. So I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. It's all by free will. This is entirely by free will, as far as I see it. And if you want to participate, great. If you don't want to participate, that's great too, and I honor that. And you stand by your convictions. That's fine. And that's okay. And then I'll do my thing and you do your thing, but please don't be disruptive. And then if there's opposition to participating, I want to honor that and release you. If you need to go somewhere else while we do this, that's fine too. Yeah. And then if you stay, my view is if you stay and if you don't participate, um you still might walk away with something just by being in it's like coexisting with one another. Is how are we going to coexist? So you don't want to do this? Please don't do it. I honor that, and I don't need to convince you and you don't need to convince me. It's okay.
I love that. The other thing that was bringing up for me is I've had kids, and Awaken often works with kids with a lot of trauma, right? A
Yes.
lot of trauma. And so I've had kids when I'm starting to guide a practice, get really angry and say, I'm not doing that, their reaction. And I love how you phrased it, like, I release you from the obligation to do anything I'm saying, because you don't know what's going on for that child in that moment. And we know about trauma that getting still and noticing can be overwhelming
Absolutely.
if trauma is present. And so, one of the techniques that I've used with kids, even when they're like F-bombing about the practice, or, really, because I'm just remembering one particular incident, kid screamed out, F-bomb, flipped the deck. Like, it was really painful for this child, right?
Sure.
It was really painful for this child. And I just went over and I said, I'm so glad that you're noticing that this isn't working for you and able to express that. And I need to lead this with the rest of the group. So you can choose, and I gave him some choices of what else he could do. And it
Yeah,
immediately calmed him down, right? The permission, like honoring the fact that it was not working for him and giving him permission to do something else, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because you reach a threshold. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great example for folks to think about, folks that are teaching is, you know, kids know what they need if we give them the space, right? So I taught middle school, as you know, for many, many years, and I would get I just remember this one year they had the schedule that my class was immediately after gym, and it was seventh grade, right? Seventh grade class of kids after gym. They were all wound up,
Yeah.
right? When they came into my room because they just had been playing basketball or whatever. And so the girls seemed to settle right away, but some of the guys, you could see the energy in their bodies, right? You could see the energy in their bodies. So I gave them permission to go to the back of the room and stand
Sure.
until they felt like they could sit. And I was like, I'm cool with you guys standing as long as you're not blocking anyone's view and you're not back there talking, like you're paying attention. And they were so excited that they had permission to stand. And so
Yeah.
for about the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
week, all of the boys stood in the back of the room, right? All of them, because it was like something new. And as time went on, just a couple of them would stand for a little while until they settled. And it shifted their energy completely just to have the permission, right? Just to have the permission to do something that their bodies were telling them they needed. They needed time to cool down, they needed time to settle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And we have to respect that. Well, I have to. I grew into that over time. I mean, this hasn't been my practices have not been this way like for 30 years. It continues to evolve. And it really gives me a wonderful way of life that I love.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that in you. Like that's one of the beautiful things about you that I love
Oh,
about you. But
thank you.
but I think the takeaway here is, and you named this, mindfulness is awareness, and those
Yeah.
kids are aware of what they need. And so honoring that and giving them the option to notice and respond to what they're needing is a mindfulness practice. It may not be quote unquote meditation, but you are doing a mindfulness teaching in that moment.
Paying attention. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. You can do anything mindfully. Anything mindfully.
That's right. Paying attention and then responding in a way that is nurturing or healing or just making you available to the learning,
Well,
right?
the big question I pose is how do you want to be?
Right.
How do you want to be? Not how do you want them to be, how do you want to be? And Viktor Frankl, who was the Holocaust survivor, he said between the stimulus and re and a reaction is a space. Uh, and in that space is a sacred pause, and it might be like a moment or a minute, or you can just step back for that space time. And sometimes it's a 6 year space before even responding to something, but it decreases the reactivity and increases the opportunity for more skillful response. Does all that sound familiar, Steph?
Yeah, I love Viktor Frankl. I'm keeping tabs of all of the notes of all of the people you're referencing, and we're going to put those in the notes for people so that if you haven't, Viktor Frankl's book Man's Search for Meaning is just
Yeah.
one of the books that I think is life changing. If you read it, it's really amazing. I guess I want to switch a little bit the topic because you have been a classroom teacher, but you
Yes.
also moved into a more administrative role, doing some coaching and also working with teachers. And so I think it would be interesting to talk about from the work with teachers, right? Um, I know you were bringing, yeah, whatever you would like to reflect on. And just to name for the listeners, you're now retired, but you're continuing the work
Oh, yeah.
in new roles. But so you've got this beautiful career of many years with kiddos and then years with educators as well. And so, from the perspective of working with other educators, like bringing mindfulness practices to them and helping them sometimes, like what we've been talking about, shift the way they're thinking about
Yes.
reaction or response to students. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you've learned over the years.
Well, something I'll share with you is I did advocate for mindfulness to go into Pittsburgh public schools some years ago. And by advocate, I would go to public hearings and I would repeat the same message over and over and over again, practically every month. I would show up and then I would get on to be one of the first speakers. I'd call the next day to schedule being on the list again for the next month. For 6 years, I did that. And I advocated to bring mindfulness to the schools. And then a position had been created, and it was not created for me. I want to be very clear on that. It was created because of the board and the district recognized that there may be a need for this. So they were ahead of their time. And I know the superintendent at the time, he was really very supportive of this. And and so we moved forward with it, and I applied for the position, and I ended up being the chosen candidate, and I was very grateful for that. So my role shifted from classroom teacher to creating systemic change. Oh my gosh. And I went district wide with this. So I would do teacher trainings. I would do administrative trainings as well with the principals, the directors, not the school board directors. I had asked them several times to get me in on a retreat because the school board, I really felt it would be imperative for them to for those who would participate to model this and notice the changes that can happen through the practices, through practicing community. But and then I ended up going from school to school to school whenever a principal would give me the thumbs up, and I would go in for 6 to 8 weeks, one time a week, and go from classroom to classroom to classroom, and the instruction would be interrupted when the teacher cued me in that it's a good time to pause for a break, and we would do a practice together with the teacher participating most of the time. Sometime there was resistance to it, and the teacher would tell me, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I have so much work to do, I'm not doing this. And I'd say, well, the children are watching us work this out, and I invite you to participate as best you can. And this one in particular, she went over on the side and started correcting papers while I was trying to get the students engaged in the practice and in the lesson in the practice. And I'll tell you, the class will do what the teacher is doing. That's how the class responds, even when I went in, but I'd go in and do it anyway. Yeah, yeah. And then I would leave at the end
Well,
and
you
go
just
back the next week.
yeah, you just said something really important that the class responds as the teacher's responding. Like people educators don't always realize how it's not our words, sometimes it's our modeling that is the most important, you know? It is really,
We're watching each other all the time. We're
yeah,
always looking at one another.
yeah,
So how do you want to be?
yeah,
How do
exactly.
you how do you want to respond to this, you know? Yeah. And some do respond with the reactivity, and that's part of the experience too. And sometimes I'm reactive as well. Yeah.
Of course, you're human.
So that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm always grateful when I catch myself.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then I gotta apply that compassion
Yeah,
and forgiveness. Yeah.
always a journey.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's
always a
awesome.
journey. I think about, what in my mind, what your role was in that position was to
Yeah.
support student and teacher thriving,
Yeah.
right? Like how do we help kids be thriving in our schools? And by that I mean, fully able to learn to their ability, but also given these tools that for me are preparation for work and life beyond school, you know? And so I guess when you're reflecting on that, what do you need first for in your role there? What were you hoping to give to kids to help them thrive in the educational setting? And then as a like second question, when you worked with the teachers, what do you think they needed and what were you trying to bring to them?
I know, I want to mention too, I want to back up for just a second. I also had union support and union involvement in this stuff, as I took it to the district. And I did reach 21 schools and did whole school mindfulness. So you couldn't tell me like who really needs this. And, oh, I have kids that are this way or I have kids that are that way. This went out for everybody, for all of us, because we can all benefit from it wherever we are. That's my view on that. And I wanted to bring that to light. So this kind of practice, it's not pigeonholed for any one group. It's for all.
Yeah, I guess, when you were designing, because you were able to design what you were offering though, like what if you had to do your lesson plan and say what your lesson outcomes were going to be, right? What were those things that you were hoping were the outcomes? I guess that's what I'm asking. Students will be able to, teachers will be able to. Like what were you hoping were the outcomes for the folks you were working with?
That they could do this anywhere, anytime, did not need anybody else. They did not need me. They did not need a chime. I know one girl came back to me one time and said, Dr. Flynn-Somerville, I tried to practice at home, but I couldn't. And I said, you couldn't? She said, no. She said, because I didn't have a chime. And that was a big lesson for me. And it enhanced my awareness that for anybody, the adults and the children, to walk away realizing that this is portable, it's available, it's right here anytime. And to access it takes a lot of practice. But to know that you've got this, that was the objective. We all have this. This goes for all of us. And when I took it to the board and I was talking to one of the assistant superintendents, they were directing me to go to a school, and I said, this is for the adults. This is for the adults to do. We have to do this first as adults. And he said, no, it's for the kids. It's all about the kids. And he said, work with me, Kath, work with me. I said, I will do both. And that's what I ended up doing. So I just wanted to go back to that. But you were asking me, for people to thrive, not only in the classroom, but in their lives. Um, so it's not something bottled up to for the classroom alone. It's
Yeah,
some
absolutely. And you were saying your objective is to help folks realize that they can do the practices on their own. And you said we all have this. What's the this? What's the this?
we all have this within us. We all have this
The
it's like the presence and the body awareness, and well, the body awareness we don't all have
yeah.
all the time, but when I get still and when I get quiet and check in with my body, that's when I can recognize. Because yeah, so that's what this is. We all have what it takes for ourselves. This is very deep inner work. I call it, well, it's not even like, it's more inner awareness. And that inner awareness comes from our core. So to be able to touch that core base on a regular basis it's a devotion for me, um, where I am devoted to taking time to get still and quiet and check in with myself, so I can be at my best with others. And it's funny because I do believe that we're all at our very best at any given moment, even when things are really crappy and I'm depleted. I'm at my best. This is what I've got. And then for that to be honored, number one, by me, so I don't feel badly about how I am as is, you know? And whether or not I like it, because sometimes I certainly don't like me one bit and the way I'm being one bit, but I'm at my best. This is what I got.
Yeah, it reminds me of there's a really famous quote from Suzuki Roshi, Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, where he says to his students, "You are perfect just the way you are, and you could use a little work."
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's in beginner's mind. We'll put that in the liner notes too.
You know what? That's beautiful. It's true.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
true.
it. I think that's like we're basically okay. We're fundamentally good. And the clouds or the life experiences we have, whatever, sometimes shift our basic goodness. It doesn't get expressed fully. We're not able to, things get in the way of full expression of that. And we're doing the best we can.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it also takes us off the hook of like we don't need to be perfect.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
But
No.
but we do that to ourselves. At least I do. I do that to myself. I have a very high standard of how I want to be and show up in the world, right? And sometimes that's great because it pushes you to do your best, and sometimes it's damaging, right? Because you can be too self-critical or
Oh, that's where
some
that compassion comes in. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's where that compassion comes in. But also, I've heard from other folks, I have not necessarily had this happen, but that their perfectionism and feeling like they need to be or do something perfectly inhibits them from taking action and actually just doing the best they can. Yeah.
I'm good for doing the best I can. Perfection
Yeah. Good. You don't
kind
have
of
that disease.
irrelevant to me. It's no, no.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanna circle back a little bit because you were talking about systemic change.
Oh yes.
And so I want to hear a little bit about your thoughts on that because boy do we need a lot of systemic change.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like what did that mean to you? How were you working with that? I'd love to hear your thoughts
I
about
was I
that.
was I was really, really lobbying for this work to go into the schools, and I had to work with the principals for them to welcome it into their schools and to support it, even by participating. And they would. The administrators, if they were around, they would sometimes stop and join into a class. I would also pull them in or invite them in or say, come on, let's go, be an example. And and they did, and they would. And one time, one principal walked in, and man, he walked in, went to the back, whispered to the teacher while I was doing a lesson, and then he was walking out and stopped and put the papers down and went and sat cross-legged on the floor and finished. I finished the lesson with him joining in the practice. Yeah, which was beautiful. And the kids turned around and looked at him, and they were nudging each other and pointing to the principal who was sitting there with his eyes closed. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. So, yeah, it took a lot of work and a lot of professional development sessions. I conducted numerous sessions with different groups of adults and then families as well through the PS Parent School Community Council, PSCC. Yeah. Um, and where else? I have data from over 2,000 students and staff, like 2,200 with
Yeah,
their
what
respective.
is I don't know if you can say anything like what kind of results came out of that.
It's informally done. It wasn't formal, but very high responses from the students and from the teachers, and about their experiences with the lessons, and they loved it. So I don't have any follow-up work or anything like that. Some of them
Of course.
hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just thought it was boring, thought it was stupid.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and that was all fine too. That's all part
yeah.
of the data.
Yeah, I mean, and you're just naming that is really important because teachers shouldn't think, I'm going to come in, I'm going to offer this thing, everything's going to be transformed immediately, and all the kids will have buy-in, and it'll be flowers and roses, and you know what I mean? Like
Oh no.
this is the full range of human experience that we're bringing to everything we do, including our meditation and mindfulness practice.
And when we're bringing this,
Yeah.
we have to watch how we're bringing it, how we are, not only during the lesson, but outside of the lesson. What are you taking from the lesson and applying to be in a transformative way?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I guess I would love to hear when you had the students in the room, or you named the teacher earlier that was resistant. How did you work with any disruption or resistance to practice that you experienced? Like maybe you have a story you remember with a kiddo.
The biggest story I had was that one walking back and forth while we were all sitting
Yeah,
doing our practice
yeah,
and being able to address it there, and I think honoring it,
yeah.
And then of course there was another time when a kid came behind me. I really shouldn't say this, but I will. Edit it out, okay? Um, that he walked behind me and cut my hair while I was while I was doing a lesson, and I did not flinch.
Yeah, he cut your hair. Wow. There's
Yes,
some
he did.
attention seeking
So
behavior.
he did. He did.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah. So he just took a lock underneath and clipped it. That was probably one of your middle school kids.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, but he would
Interesting.
roam. He would roam the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much I'm going to do, so much energy I'll put into that. But then I need to do the practice no matter what's going on around me.
Yeah.
That's accessing the practice
Yeah.
even while that's going on rather than losing my cool over it.
Yeah. Gosh, that just brings up so many questions for me. Like, wow, what was that kiddo responding to inside him or herself? You know what I mean? Like, wow, what was going on for that young person that they felt like that's the thing to do? So interesting, right? Well, then shifting topics, I know you're doing work with education leaders, school leaders now.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, maybe let's shift to like what you're doing in your retirement, the kind of work that you're doing.
Oh wow. There's so
Yeah.
much going on.
Well, we
Um,
don't have that much time, but maybe the cliff notes.
okay, Cliff Notes. Let's see. For several years, I worked with Millennium Forum, and I worked with people out of UCal Berkeley, their education department. I worked with their staff there for 3 years. I had a group which was just awesome, awesome, awesome. And then I've worked with school districts as well. I've worked with schools through Millennium Forum where it's a peer coaching, and we practice kind of those three signature practices, conduct a meeting, and we would do a 90-minute to 2 hour session um, once a month, and it was just tremendous. Forming that community. I mean, even though we can do this ourselves, the community practices are quite beautiful too. And I think the biggest skill that we worked on through Millennium Forum was on listening, getting still and listening. And that is really, really a beautiful, beautiful practice for well, for me. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but there's an acronym I learned from being on many retreats, and it's why am I talking? Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I talking? So just get out of your own head and listen to the other person, with more heart, and experience that, and let the speaker experience that as well. Yeah, it's really magical.
I love that. I often have conversations with folks about like the two sides of the coin of mindfulness, that real solitary, individual, internal work that we do in a meditation or mindfulness practice, and
Yeah.
then the bringing it out into the way we show up in community, like the way we show up for others and in community. So what you're naming there is something really beautiful that for me, like, yes, I would love to be meditating for my own mental health and well-being, but part of that is to enable me to be fully present to others,
Yes.
right? And if it's not, then it becomes like navel gazing, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you're just by yourself in
Yeah.
your own little sound box or whatever, if you're not taking it out and bringing it into your life. And so what you're naming there is like two things that practicing in community really is powerful,
Yes, it
right?
is.
And that how we show up to others is a practice and part of the expression of our practice.
And I do want to mention from my point of view, the practice itself, it's not pure meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intention
Mm-hmm.
of how I want to be right now,
Yeah.
in this present moment. And typically, the monkey mind, how the mind jumps all over the place. And then we talk about how it goes into past and the present, and we ruminate and we worry, and all this other stuff arises. But to be here in the moment with either myself or with others around me, it's really, really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to start a little bit to wind up, or wind down, I should say. Um, so I'm curious right now, like if you looking back on all your life's work as an educator, an administrator, support person, is there a piece of advice that you would give to new educators or new leaders entering the field?
Slow down. Slow down, pause, be you, and don't worry about others, because that'll come into place. Like, release some of that worry so you can be okay,
Yeah.
to be supportive. Yeah. Um, Actually, there's more that I have on my mind about that. Just a second. I'm thinking about a couple things. And we talk about self-care and take care of yourselves and go get a massage and all this other stuff. Um, just slow down, slow yourself down. And I'd say take care of yourself, but I don't know what that means for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we take care of ourselves in different ways.
Yeah.
So, advice, live the life you want.
Yeah, that's actually very deep and profound. I was on a retreat at the Blue Cliff Monastery, it was a Thich Nhat Hanh retreat, and the name of the retreat, it was something like "Peace is the way,"
Yeah,
and it one of the Dharma talks they gave was that peace can't be a destination. Like it's not something you eventually get to. It has to be the way you move through the world. And so when
yeah,
you're saying live the life that you want, like that's what I'm hearing. I'm
yeah.
hearing like, what is the thing you want in your life? You want more joy, you want more peace, you want more
It's here.
fill in the blank, right?
They're here. They're right here. The
It's
peace is right here. The joy is right here.
yeah, yeah. Access it now in the ways that you can. And for me, I need that stillness. I need that stillness because life can be chaotic.
And then, yeah, then it manifests,
And it
it's like,
manifests.
because
Exactly.
the life I am blessed with, I'm surrounded by abundance.
Yeah.
Everywhere I turn, it's right here.
Yeah.
And, am I filthy rich? Yes. And what does that mean, filthy rich? I have a husband whom I adore and who adores me, and we just celebrated 40th anniversary. I'm f-
Congratulations.
I'm filthy rich.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
filthy rich. Our kids are our next door neighbors, and we have our space and we have our togetherness, and I'm filthy rich. I mean, who does this? I go out back and I watch the sunset at night and sip wine. I'm filthy rich. So, it's great being rich in so many ways. And then I have relationships, I have other family members, and I have friends, and it's like, wow. And this is the life I want to live,
Yeah.
with family, with friends, in community, with one another.
Mhm.
Even with those who are not like-minded, I want to hear what's going on so I can be with you as best as I can and honor you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like some things about you. I don't like some things about me.
Mhm.
And, I might change my mind and flip-flop on things. It depends on what the circumstances around me are, how I'm going to be with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to mention to you, I also immerse myself into things. Like, I had done a session down at the AFT Teach Conference a couple weeks ago with 50 some participants. And with this mindfulness thing I did, I can't. So I did a session on get ready to restore joy in schools and your life with mindfulness. And what I actually did was I did practices with them. And that's what we spent time doing. So these 50 some people stopped their world and did practices as best they could. And the response was tremendous. And they found the session very effective. I had 90 minutes. Yeah. So it was amazing. And I pursued doing that on my own.
Mhm.
And my proposal was accepted.
That's awesome.
And then I also was able to participate this summer in the Mind and Life Institute's summer research
Mhm.
program, which was over the top.
Yeah,
You've
that's a
done
good.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've done it. It's a good program. Well, I appreciate all the work that you're still doing in the world post retirement, that you are bringing the good practices and good word out into the world, and still engaged with educators, and yeah, still trying to light that fire to get it going. So that's amazing. And I just wonder, like, to wrap it up, is there one thing I didn't ask about that you wanted to share, or is there one thing you wanted to offer to the folks listening? Sometimes people, I mean, you gave a lot of resources, which we'll put in the notes, but yeah,
Uh,
anything at all?
I got to bring up Tish Jennings too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if anybody wants to do any scholarly reading,
Yeah. Yeah,
Tish is amazing
yeah,
with her
Patricia
research.
Jennings, who's currently at the University of Virginia, and she often co-authors with Mark Greenberg. So yeah, definitely Google them. They are foundational,
Oh,
absolutely
yes, and Linda
foundational.
Lentieri
Linda Lantieri is another great one. Her
is
book is
another,
wonderful too, but she also
and
does scholarly work. Yeah.
Meena Srinivasan.
Mina, yep, Mina's
Yeah.
great.
I was part of the TAL, I'm a TAL alum, the Transformative Ed Leadership Program. I'm a certified Chopra coach. Um, what
That's
else have
great.
I studied? Tara and Jack, man.
Yeah.
I was on retreat with Tara back in March. She did a workshop. She did it on uh love, wait, grief, loss, and timeless love.
Yeah, so that's Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield for folks who don't know who they are. She was mentioning. Yeah, lots of, and the wonderful thing about the time we live in is, like, everything is accessible with the click of a button. So you have access to all of these great teachers and teachings and the research and everything.
Yeah, and the best app that I found for myself is Insight Timer.
Yep, my favorite.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's my go-to.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And I listen to it at night to go to sleep. And when I go to sleep, it doesn't count as a practice. And it gives me a good night's rest.
Actually,
Yeah.
in one of the programs that I'm trained in, they have something that they call meditation. So, so I'll leave that. Well, maybe we'll end there.
Thank you, Steph. It was great to be with you.
Yes, great to be with you always. Appreciate you
Always.
and the work that you do.
Okay. Love you, Steph.
Say Something Studios.